I'll tell you a secret, I've never drank a beer in my life. Yeah, I just don't like the taste. That's the biggest joke, is that I only drink water. I love water. My name is Allan Zeman. I'm known as the chairman of Lan Kwai Fong. Lan Kwai Fong is basically a street. L is for lovely, K is for kindness, F is for famous. There's no rich, no poor. Everyone's famous.
Lan Kwai Fong is an icon of entertainment, nightlife, and a trendy spot. Place you can take a date to have a drink, party with your friends, and simply go alone and expect some adventures. It's a place of stories where people meet and mingle, get together, fall in love, break up, get married, or even divorce. Everything you can imagine. Before the pandemic, there are different events happening here once in a while, like beer festivals and the Summer Love Festival, keeping the area vibrant.
And sometimes you could be standing next to a prince or someone from overseas, or someone you have no idea, or billionaire, it's standing next to whoever having a drink.
In the old days, Lan Kwai Fong was known as the matchmaker's lane. Parents who wanted to find someone for their daughters or sons would bring them here. It's also a place full of old warehouses, with only one restaurant called 1997.
When I first came there, the feng shui seemed very good, even though it was on a hillside, but the area was not too big. It was 1 block from Queens Road Central. Really, if I could get people to walk 1 block up the road, wow, we could really have a real business. We can really have something that's good. And I started my first restaurant and bar called California. People used to come for dinner, and then late night we used to clear out the tables and make it into a dance place. And slowly many famous people, stars, movie stars, who at that time were just starting out their career. Some of the singers, Wang Fei was one, Michelle Yeoh, many people grew up in Lan Kwai Fong before they were famous. And so they're all my customers at the time. And that's how I slowly started. Jackie Chan was there. I can go on a whole list of potential stars.
There were over 170 bars and restaurants in Lan Kwai Fong before the pandemic. At the moment, there are about 135 bars and restaurants in the area. Since last year, bars and clubs have been closed for 275 days. The restaurants are only open with a 50% capacity. Hong Kong government is giving some potential to open up later this month, with the condition of every staff member and customer getting vaccinated.
There's about 25% of all the bars in Hong Kong have closed down because they just couldn't survive. No business can survive being closed almost 3/4 of a year. The government really wants to get everyone vaccinated, and that's very important. If we can get people vaccinated, that will help to keep the numbers low. It's vital. Otherwise, the whole industry will disappear.
Some people just can't afford to maintain the business and close down. Others have been doing okay, but just draining water. However, as people have nowhere else to go, Lan Kwai Fong might be a right place for them to chill. We talked to Kelvin, a bartender, about the situation.
I'm Kelvin. I'm the bar assistant manager here working at Chow Chow, and I was born in Macau, but I grew up here in Hong Kong, so I've been living here for almost 25 years, so I'm a local Chinese.
So how does the pandemic affect your work?
I think due to the current COVID-19 pandemic situation, like many of my friends or even counterparts working in the same industry were affected. They are really worried about their job security and also their financial status because, as we all know, some of the bartenders or people working in Lan Kwai Fong, they have already been laid off or have received some sort of salary cut. And I think the government's regulation, including the social distancing policy, had made it even more difficult for the industry. And because, as you can see, the current pandemic situation had somehow triggered a way of business closure. Like a lot of household brands in F&B had already been closed down, and for me, it's really heartbreaking to see that. If you walk around here in Central District, you can see a lot of shops are getting closed down, are either shut down or beginning to shut down, and I think people are losing jobs because of that, and no one wants that to happen, but that's the way it is. Sometimes I would think to myself, if I work somewhere else, I would have rather be already been laid off or receive some sort of salary cut. So I still consider myself very fortunate to work here.
I, as a landlord, have had to give many concessions to a lot of my tenants in order to help them to survive this crisis. I have double vaccination. I'm fully vaccinated. I did it as soon as the first vaccinations, as the government said when Carrie Lam was doing it. I did it as well because I thought it was really important, just in general. The problem is you never know who you're going to be meeting or be next to or whatever, and where they're coming from and are they infected. So it's a very serious disease, and the last thing you want to do is catch it. And so that's why I don't like to take chances. So I got vaccinated.
Growing up in Montreal, Canada, Allan Zeman's father passed away when he was 7. Allan always wanted to be an entrepreneur. He started his own business in fashion at 19, which brought him to Hong Kong to import ladies' sweaters to Canada. In the end of his first year in business, he made a fortune of 1 million Canadian dollars, but soon found out he had to pay a heavy tax.
At the end of my first year in business, I made $1 million Canadian profit. It was a lot of money in those years, and so I thought to myself, I'm rich. And then I sat down with the accountants at the end of the year, and I said, I'll have a check for $1 million. They said, not so fast. They said, why? They said, you got to pay tax. I said, tax? How much? It was something like 50% at that time. I said, 50%? Who gets the tax? They said, socialized medicine, socialized this, socialized that. Someone has to pay for it. Maybe I will now have to pay so much tax, and so then I said I'll have it. I still had $500,000 out of my $1 million profit, so I thought that's a lot of money still to a 19-year-old. I said I'll have a check for $500,000. They said not so fast again. They said you have to pay tax again. I said just pay tax. That was corporation tax. This was a personal tax, So I thought to myself, how does anyone get rich in this country?
And when he noticed that Hong Kong had a series of incentives on tax policies, he decided to relocate to the city, which later he fell in love with and became his home.
I just loved the business culture here. It was everybody was positive.
When Allan was asked to choose one of his 2 passports, he chose to give up on his Canadian one and hold on to his Chinese identity.
Well, because at that time, everybody thought I was crazy. The Canadian government said, are you sure you know what you're doing? I said, yeah, I'm sure. I just felt that I saw the changes that were taking place in China. It was just something that was so special. China taking the last 40 years, moving 700 million people out of poverty to become a middle class in China. And I saw the life improving every year for a lot of my staff, for everything. And I was in China a lot, and traveling there a lot, and doing business there. And I just thought, wow, they're really going to continue to do very, very well. And I was right, because I just go to China now, and I just can't believe what's going on. Shenzhen. I was in Shenzhen when Deng Xiaoping came there in Shekau at that time and said this is going to be a special economic zone. It was all field. And I thought, there's no way, impossible. Wow, look at Shenzhen today. It's unbelievable. Shanghai. I was there when Zhu Rongji was. We were in Puxi, looking across the river at Pudong, and again it was all field. And he said, "This is going to be the financial center of Shanghai." I said, "No way." It's unbelievable now, And so I became a believer when I saw the can-do spirit of what was going on in China. The rest of the world didn't really understand what was going on. They still don't. Many countries still don't, and many countries now fear China. That's why they keep taking out rhetoric against China, against Hong Kong, and all that. But there's no stopping China. China will just continue to go from strength to strength. And that much I really feel. Hong Kong is, in my world, it's amazing, futuristic, one of the kingpin of the Greater Bay Area. Now that we've been through a very difficult period since 2019, and of course the COVID-19, going forward, the Greater Bay Area is the future of Hong Kong. I mean, Hong Kong is one country with two systems, but now with Chinese characteristics. Everybody's life will benefit. I know some people are unhappy because most people fear change. They don't know what the future is. And I believe if we believe in Hong Kong and believe in China, everyone that does that will be very successful in the end. Everybody's life will be much better. Housing will become much easier thing for most people, and that was a real problem for Hong Kong. I believe those problems that existed for Hong Kong will now maybe move aside and we can get back to work. My plan for the near future is to continue to do everything I'm doing, to continue. I exercise every morning for 1 hour and 20 minutes every day, already 50 years every day of my life. I love that. And as long as you can stay healthy, of course, doesn't matter how old you are, but I continue to work very hard and will continue to do everything that I can to keep going. And as long as I can, through dots, we connect.